Hello again, everyone. My name is Ryan Hartranft, and this oral presentation is based on the ethics paper number 3, Civilian Review Boards and your position for or against them. I personally had never even heard of a Civilian Review Board until I was asked to do this assignment. However, after my research, I found that I'm personally opposed to Civilian Review Boards for several reasons. Civilian review boards were formed with a good intent and for good reason. However, they have, in my opinion, fallen on deaf ears to no fault of their own. They lack substantial standards, training, authority, uniformity, and the lack of all these have found civilian review boards to be ineffective. Civilian review boards are actually nothing new and date back to the 1920s. They are comprised mostly of non-law enforcement personnel, but members of the immediate community. And the original intent of the Civilian Review Board was to form an oversight accountability group of members of the local community to address local police actions, mostly the overuse of force issues. Since the 1920s, civilian review boards seem to have evaded the public's perception and the media's perception until the recent controversial police shootings of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, Tamir Rice in Cleveland, Ohio, Antonio Montez in Pasco, Washington, Charlie Kunang on Los Angeles' Skid Row, and most recently Tony Robinson in Madison, Wisconsin. All of these police shootings have brought civilian review boards back into the public spotlight, questioning their effectiveness. My biggest concerns with civilian review boards is that they lack the authority that the public perception believes them to have. The public believes that they can go to a civilian review board and make a complaint based on a police action, and that the Civilian Review Board will be supplied with all of the information, reports, videos, witness statements, evidence, etc. But in reality, the Civilian Review Board is only supplied with information after the Internal Affairs Division of the agency in question has completed their investigation. Therefore, once the Civilian Review Board receives its information, it's already most likely been filtered and biased from the law enforcement agency in question. Subsequently, it has historically taken civilian review boards an extensive amount of time to come up with their determination. That leaves the officer in question most likely on unpaid leave with his character in question and his job in jeopardy, and that also leaves the victim facing several investigative probes and inquiries and investigations, ultimately to end up with the final determination to be just a recommendation and have no legal authority. The second concern from the citizens aspect, is that historically civilian review boards have only found law enforcement agencies to be at fault 10 to 15% of the time. It will probably come as no surprise to you that law enforcement agencies and their unions have been opposed to civilian review boards since their implementation. Their argument to that is that the public already has their outlet, and that is that they are able to vote on their public officials, an example, a sheriff, and that is their way of deciding who they want to have in public office. The problem with that is that the sheriff's department that I work for historically has had the sheriff retire within 2 months of his final term, therefore putting the second in charge and most likely the next sheriff, the chief deputy, in the position of acting sheriff, making him the incumbent. And I think, as we all know, politically and historically, it is almost impossible to outvote the incumbent. So, in my opinion, civilian review boards are a great idea and a necessity, but they lack the power, funding, and information they need to follow through with the oversight that was their intention. Thank you.